Hello, hello, hello. It looks like we are live. It's Lily Enrique here, parenting strategist from Parent Support Network. Hope you are having an amazing day so far. We are up to episode 2 of Parent Support Network TV. And my question for you today is, have you ever said or done something in your parenting relationship that you've really, really regretted or felt bad about? It might be something small, or it could be something big, something you said that you later regretted, or something you did that just made you feel really bad. I know that for me, when I was parenting, particularly my youngest son, I had many such instances, and I can remember going into my bedroom and crying myself to the point where I just felt like the absolute worst mum ever. So there's this one particular time that comes to mind that really makes me appreciate what I now know. At the time, our now 28-year-old son was 15 years old, or 14 and a half, 15 years old, and he was going through a really rough time. He was going through a really rough time at school and at home. And on this particular day, we got a phone call from his school. And we had many of those phone calls, but on this particular day, I'm like, oh no, here we go again, another phone call from the school. And the school had actually told me that he got in trouble for doing a bunch of stuff at school, and that he had run off and he was no longer at school. So they were basically letting me know that he wasn't at school, and to, see if I could find him. So I remember calling my husband and letting him know what had happened, and then thinking, oh gosh, what has he done this time? And I was so angry. I was so embarrassed that we kept getting these calls from the school. And it was all about me. It wasn't about, oh, I wonder if he's okay. I wonder what happened that made him react in that way. It was just all about poor little old me as a parent. How dare he do this to me? So as you can imagine, when he finally came home, I was furious. I was absolutely furious. Now, keep in mind, we had just recently started coaching with our parenting coach, Frank, from the US. And one of the things he had already taught us was to be our child's biggest supporter and fan. And I knew this. But in my moment of anger and my moment of frustration, I did not implement it at all. When he walked in the door, I can still clearly remember it. I can remember not even asking him how he was or how his day was. I can just remember going full into a yelling lecture, reprimand, you're grounded type of situation. How could you do this? I'm sick of these calls from the school. What have you done now? And, I was so angry. The only thing I could think of was to say, you're grounded. That's it. I've had enough, right? I was not being his biggest supporter and fan in any shape or form. I was not showing him unconditional love in any shape or form. And when I said to him, you're grounded, get to your room, he basically said, no. And I, of course, escalated. And then he, of course, escalated. And it came to the point where he used some choice words and basically said, I'm out of here, bleep, bleep you. And of course, once again, my thoughts went to, how dare he do that to me? How dare he treat me like that? But how had I just treated him? Had I showed him that he had unconditional love from me, that I was his biggest supporter and fan? No, I showed him that I didn't believe in him, that I didn't care about his feelings, and that I wasn't even willing to ask what had happened. I wasn't even willing to ask him what his side of the story was. It was just all about me. So off he ran. And this was probably, I don't know, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he'd been out and about already for a few hours because he'd left school, that earlier that afternoon. It was after lunch at school. So he'd been out for a few hours, but then he decided to come home. And that should have been my opportunity to show him I was his biggest supporter and fan, to have a cool, calm, and collected conversation with him to see how I could support him. But what I did was I drove him away. I spoke to him in a way that did not make him feel loved or supported in any way. And consequently, he ran off. Now, I figured he'd come back when he cooled down. So I got to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And of course, by now my husband's home. It got to 8 o'clock and we were starting to get worried. He wasn't answering his phone. And I began to feel guilty about the way I'd spoken to him, or not even given him the chance to say his side of the story. I didn't actually even ask him. I didn't even ask him. So it got to the point where my husband decided to get in the car. It was probably close to 9 o'clock now, and go and start looking for him. We didn't really know where he hung out much or who his friends were, but my husband knew of one of his friends, or not even so much a friend, an older kid that he hung around with, an older kid that he was doing wrong things with. I can remember thinking, why is he hanging around with that kid? So my husband went to this kid's house, and the boy was very sheepish because he knew what our son had been up to. And he said to my husband, I don't know where he is, but I saw him a little while ago and he wasn't in a very good shape. So my husband kept driving around their neighbourhood, and he saw in a distant corner a police car pulled over. And he went over, and there were police out there standing on the corner, and there was a kid lying in the gutter, totally out of it, totally out of it. The police could not get anything out of this kid. He didn't know what his name was, where he was, who he was, what he'd done. And the police were just trying to figure out what they were going to do with this kid. He couldn't stand up. He was so out of it. And my husband realised the kid on the ground in this drunken, drug-affected stupor was our son. And he was there because I drove him there. And my husband brought him home, literally had to carry him. He couldn't walk. He couldn't talk. We set up a mattress downstairs and laid him down and tried to see how he was, but he wasn't even really responding. And we ended up speaking to our mentor in the meantime to say, what do we do? He's laying on this mattress. He can barely talk. We don't know what's happened to him. And our mentor said, just be his biggest supporter and fan. Just show him unconditional love. Don't question him. Don't ask him what he was doing. Don't yell at him. Just be there to support him. Just be there to show him that you love him unconditionally, regardless of what he's done. And that's what we did for 2 days, because it took 2 days for him to really be in the place where he could be lucid enough to have a conversation. And when he woke up, or when he was in that situation, he was so surprised that we didn't do what we normally would have done: yelled, screamed, nagged, chastised, threatened. He was so surprised that we were there just loving him and supporting him and letting him know it was okay. so that after he got back up and we had the opportunity to have a conversation, we didn't ask him what happened. We didn't ask him why he did it, what he took. We just told him we were there for him. And that was the real beginning of our healing journey with him, because he realized for once that we were on his side. So if your children have done things that have upset you, or maybe you could have a similar story to ours, I certainly hope not, but you might have. But it could just be a child not coming home on time, or, you know, fighting, or just doing something that they really shouldn't have. And you've gone into that automatic mode of yelling, nagging, threatening, you know, taking away privileges and doing all the things that we typically do. I just urge you to reconsider next time, to really just be there for your child, to be their biggest supporter and fan, to be the person who loves them unconditionally and is there just to help and support them along the way. Because eventually he actually opened up and shared with us some of the things that he remembered from that event and that time. But once again, there was no point in us yelling, screaming, nagging, or threatening after the fact. We just wanted him to know that we were his absolute biggest supporters and fans from then onwards. And that was probably the biggest and best lesson that we've ever had in our parenting relationship with him, because it really made us think about, especially myself, because I was the one who reacted so badly when he came home. And he actually ended up getting suspended for 20 days because of what happened at school that day. But we continue to support him and allow him to make decisions and choices based on, you know, what his feelings were and how he wanted his life to look and what he wanted to do. And as I said, that really was a part of our journey of healing for our family. So what's your take home for today? I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'd like you to really think about it. What is your take home today? Now, you might have a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 24-year-old or beyond. But I believe there's a lesson in this story for every one of us. And I know it impacted us, our family, and our journey forevermore. And definitely, you know, the relationships that we have today, 14 years later, are because of what we did moving forward from that situation. So I hope this has helped you in some way. I look forward to connecting with you again. Just letting you know also that this Saturday, the 2nd of October, 8 p.m. AEST time, Queensland time, and 11 a.m. UK time, we are having a free masterclass, a 90-minute masterclass, where we will talk about our journey. We'll talk about what things were like and how things are now and what's happened in between. We're going to have some great guests on the call, including my son, Nathan, who is a naturopath, herbalist and nutritionist, my husband, Andrew, and also a couple of other people who will be joining us to share their experiences of working with us and improving the relationships that they have with their families and children. So that's it from me today on episode 2 of Parent Support Network TV. I hope to see you next week for episode 3. In the meantime, if you have any questions or any topics that you would like me to talk about, please just let me know in the comments below, email me or message me. And remember to be your child's biggest supporter and fan, never to drop your affinity for unconditional love. Lillian Reiki, parenting strategist from Parent Support Network, equipping parents to enjoy happy and healthy children and relationships on purpose. Bye for now.